Hello there, this is Teacher Mukul. Today in this video I'm going to be talking about past continuous tense and how you can use different rules to frame positive, negative and interrogative sentences in past continuous tense. First things first, when do we use past continuous tense? Well, to answer that question, I would say we use past continuous tense to talk about an action which started before a specific time and also continued after that specific time in the past tense. For example, yesterday at 5 p.m., Mike was watching a movie. I repeat, yesterday at 5 p.m., Mike was watching a movie. In this sentence, 5 p.m. is the specific time, and Mike started watching movie before 5 p.m. and he also continued watching it after 5 p.m. So the action started before 5 p.m. and it also continued after 5 p.m. And 5 p.m. is the specific point of time in this context. So an action which started before the specific time and also continued after that specific time in the past. So to talk about that action, we use past continuous tense. Let's take another example. Yesterday at 1 p.m., Sarah was painting. In this case, 1 p.m. is the specific time. Sarah started painting before 1 p.m. and she also continued painting after 1 p.m. That is a very good example of past continuous tense to talk about an action which started before a specific time and also continued after that specific time. Another example would be yesterday at 8 p.m. Mom was cooking food. 8 p.m. is the specific time. Mom started cooking food before 8 p.m. and she continued cooking food after 8 p.m. In this case, Mom would have started cooking at 7:30 or she would have finished by 8:30 or 9. However, at 8 o'clock the action was continuing. At 8 p.m. she was in the middle of the action. She was in the middle of cooking. So the action started before that specific time and continued after that specific time, which is 8 o'clock in this case. So it's a long action. It's a long action. Number two, we use past continuous tense to talk about a situation where an action, a long action, is interrupted by a short action. I repeat, we use past continuous tense to talk about a situation where a long action is interrupted by a short action. For example, yesterday when I came back home, Mom was cooking food in the kitchen. So when I came back home is the short action and Mom was cooking food in the kitchen is the long action. And here the long action was interrupted for a moment or for a sec by the short action. And that's how we use it in past continuous tense. Let's take another example. When I went to the classroom, the teacher was teaching. Or when I entered the classroom, the teacher was teaching. I entered the classroom is the short action. The teacher was teaching is the long action. The teacher started teaching before I entered the classroom and she continued teaching even after I entered the classroom. So that is the long action. And I just entered the classroom, that is the short action. Next, we use past continuous tense to talk about two actions which happen simultaneously. For example, Yesterday afternoon, while I was cooking dinner, Mary was playing games on her mobile phone. I repeat, yesterday afternoon, while I was cooking dinner in the kitchen, Mary was playing games. Mary was playing video games on her mobile phones or mobile phone, whatever. So that would be a good example of two actions happening simultaneously. Another example would be last Sunday while I was driving. You can say while I was driving, Mike was speaking loudly on the phone. So in this case, two actions were happening simultaneously. I was driving and Mike was speaking over the phone. Next, let's talk about different rules of past continuous tense and how we can use these rules to frame positive, negative, and interrogative sentences in past continuous tense. Number one, positive or affirmative sentences. Well, in order to frame a positive or affirmative sentence in past continuous tense, we can use either was or were plus first form of the verb plus ing. Was is used with he, she, it, name, singular word, or I. Were is used with they, we, you. For example, yesterday I was watching a movie. Yesterday at 1 p.m. I was doing my homework. Yesterday at 5 a.m. I was jogging in the park. Yesterday at 9 p.m. I was cooking dinner for my family members. Next, we have negative sentences. In order to frame a negative sentence, all we need to do is to put not to was or were, followed by first form of the verb plus ing. Was becomes wasn't and were not becomes weren't, plus first form of the verb plus ing. For example, yesterday at 1 p.m. I was not driving. Yesterday at 5 p.m. I was not having cold coffee. Yesterday at 1 p.m. I was not having lunch. Yesterday at 9 p.m. I was not jogging in the park. Yesterday at 9 a.m. I was not studying. Yesterday at 8 a.m. I was not sleeping in my bedroom. So these are some examples of negative sentences in past continuous tense. Next we have interrogative sentences. Once again, in order to frame an interrogative sentence, we just need to put the helping verb at the beginning of a sentence, which happens to be was or were in this case, followed by a pronoun plus first form of the verb plus ing. So it's pretty simple. Just put was or were at the beginning of a sentence, followed by a pronoun like I, we, you, they, or he, she, it, plus first form of the verb plus ing. For example, were you driving at 5 p.m.? Were you listening to music in the morning? Were you cooking food at 8 p.m.? Were you doing your homework at 1 in the afternoon? Were you smoking at 5 p.m.? Or were you smoking when I came back home? Were you dancing when I came back home? Were you fighting with your brother when I came back home last night? So these are some of the examples of interrogative sentences, and they all begin with a helping verb. Depending upon which pronoun you are going to use in a sentence, you choose a particular helping verb. You choose either was or were, which you put at the beginning of a sentence, and you are good to go, and you have an interrogative sentence. Let's have a quick recap. Question number one: when do we use past continuous tense? The answer to that question would be We use past continuous tense to talk about an action which started before a specific time and it also continued after that specific time. For example, yesterday at 9 a.m. I was having coffee. 9 a.m. is the specific time. I started having coffee before 9 a.m. and I continued having it after 9 a.m. Number two, we also use past continuous tense to talk about a situation where two actions happen simultaneously. For example, while I was listening to music, my mom was cooking in the kitchen. In this context, both the actions were happening simultaneously or at the same time. I was listening to music and my mom was cooking in the kitchen, so both the actions were happening simultaneously. Next, we also use past continuous tense to talk about a situation where a long action is interrupted by a short action. For example, yesterday afternoon when I came back home, my brother was playing video games. So here, my brother was playing video games is the long action, and I came back home is the short action. Here, the long action was interrupted by a short action. Let's have a quick recap of different rules of past continuous tense. We use was verb plus first form of the verb plus ing to frame a positive sentence or say an affirmative sentence. We use was verb plus first was not or were not. We also call them wasn't or weren't plus first form of the verb plus ing to frame a negative sentence. Number three, we put either was or were at the beginning of a sentence to frame an interrogative sentence or say a question. Depending upon which pronoun is going to be there in a sentence, we decide whether to put was or were. Was goes with he, she, it, name, or a singular word, and were goes with I, we, you, they, or a plural verb. I hope you have understood this tense and various situations in which we can use past continuous tense. Please feel free to post sentences in the comment section below if you have any, and I will definitely write back to you soon. That's all for today. Have a great day. Bye bye. See you soon.